What inspired you to write Tender Mercies? I mean, you have been through your own trials and tribulations through life, and it seems like you seem like a very, very happy person. But I'm sure being a pastor, you meet a lot of people also that have had struggles and trying to find some way to help them in those struggles. What was your passion about writing this book?
Well, it's kind of it's like from childhood. There's always that, I have to do that someday thing that burns within everybody. There's something. Yep. And when you get to be my age, it's called the bucket list.
Right.
But it was a dream. It was always a dream. And I had a high school teacher who believed in me. And in my yearbook, she wrote something wonderfully encouraging about my gifts of writing and acting. And so I carried that in my heart all these years as I served people. I have all my career work has been serving people in need. I was a case manager for 10 years for people on public assistance and helped them navigate towards self-sufficiency and employment and all those things and taught life skills.
Heather, you can relate.
Yes, very well.
Yeah. And then after that, I was a executive director of a nonprofit ministry, which helped mainly the elderly, but I added cancer support and food delivery to the poor, and we started a thrift store and all these things to help people in need. And then after that, I got the call to become a pastor. And then one day I saw, I've been always just needing to write this book, but I didn't know how to self-publish and do all those techie, difficult, detailed, businessy things.
Yeah.
And so I came across an opportunity to learn and to be coached as to how to do that. And once I knew I had that in place, I just got up one morning at 5 o'clock, put my hands on the keyboard and prayed and said, God, what you got? And because my heart is to serve those that just have no one to bless them and no one to help them. Those are the people I've loved all my life. And so I wrote it for all people in need. And currently I teach high school in the jail. So I work with inmates who are so broken and so lost. And so I had them in my heart as I was writing this book to show them another way.
Yeah.
God's way and God's blessing for their lives. So I wrote the blessing.
You wrote the blessing. So this book is titled Tender Mercies for Tough Moments, a 31-day journey into the blessings of God. So the idea of the book is to get them started thinking more positive things, so more positive things can come into their life. How do you kind of plan this book?
Well, I planned it with the real nitty-gritty, real-life things that we all deal with, that we all struggle with. Like, how do we act when someone hurts us? And how do we respond to that? Do we respond or do we react? Do we do things that hurt us more or hurt somebody else? Or do we do it the way that God would have it for us to do with peace and love? Or how do we, or when we're grieving, how do we handle that? I mean, that's a long process, I know, but, and what do we do when we're just so mad? We just don't know what to do. And make the right choices, and how to be a friend, and how to follow God when it's not easy sometimes, and it just draws people into the best that God has for them in 31 different opportunities and circumstances of life.
Wow.
If you read through some of the titles for the chapters, it just nails all those right.
Well, right. In a relationship, blessings and cursings, new growth in your spiritual garden, fighting the battles. I mean, I look at these and go, oh, self-pity party.
And you can seriously listen to those and you're like, a thought comes to your head, every single one of them of a situation you've been in that can totally be related to it.
Right. The shame game, talking about painful past, joy and happiness, cravings and callings, even school and homework, the power of temptation, grief, loneliness, so many things that all of us go through, but specifically, the people that you're talking about may not even have another individual that they can really count on to turn to. And they, especially when you're talking about higher powers, they may have never really been introduced to anything like that.
And that's what I find especially in the jail, but anybody out there, I mean, they have never heard that they are people worthy of love, some of them. And this introduces them to the love of God and then all that from the Bible and from the writing and everything. So, and then there's a prayer for every single one of them, so they can say a prayer about that situation that they're in at that moment.
When you were younger, did you think that you would ever be a pastor?
Well, it's interesting because I didn't know that, but someone asked my husband, when did she become a pastor? Why did she? And he said something interesting, and he's only known me for 42 years or 43 years, but he said, I think it's always been there.
Ah, interesting.
So it's something also that burned that I wasn't aware.
Right.
Yeah.
You're an inspirational speaker, too. You speak to people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if somebody needs a speaker or just even a few minutes and I'll be happy to do that. Or I do women's events, church events and different events and tell different stories or whatever as they want, or preach from the Bible, whatever.
Whatever they're looking for.
Yeah.
I do want to mention that you are going to have a book signing.
It's the week before Mother's Day. The Saturday before Mother's Day. Yeah.
It looks like a great book. Tender Mercies for Tough Moments. Teresa Ellen Nelson is the author. Again, she's going to have the book signing in Foley.
May 5th.
Is it 10 to 3?
Something like that.
If you want to meet her in person, get your book signed. Sounds like a great time.
Book signings are a blast.
And meet another author there, too, that sounds like she's super fun, too. Yeah. Well, thank you for being here. The time went by too fast.
It went by really fast. This has been so much fun. Thanks for having me.
We'd love to have you back sometime, and I'm sure that you know great women that we could have on the show as well, so please tell us about them.